Okay, we're on to day 127. Get your worksheets. Let's get started. Capitalization on your own. Punctuation. Something new today. An em dash is used after an expression of breathlessness caused by emotion or after some colloquialism. Example, big deal. He found a dollar bill. Okay, so it's big deal dash. He found a dollar bill. If we had chosen to punctuate that as an interjection, big deal, exclamation point. He found a dollar bill. The he would be capitalized, but because we're just using the dash, the next word after it does not need to be capitalized. So let's take a look here. We have, imagine that the Mary Celeste, an American ship, was found abandoned and afloat in the Atlantic in 1872, said Yuri. That was a mouthful. All right, what do we think about first? Are there any quotation marks involved here? Is someone speaking directly? And in this case, the answer is yes. Yuri said something. So where does what Yuri said begin? It begins with imagine. So you would have quotation marks before the word imagine. And where does he stop speaking? He stopped speaking after 1872. So that's where the other quotation marks, the end set of the quotation marks would go. All right, but now let's take a look at how we need to punctuate within that quotation mark, that quote. Imagine that, the Mary Celeste. All right, imagine that. Is that an interjection, like imagine that exclamation point, or is it an em dash? Well, because the is not capitalized, we know that it's an em dash, not an exclamation point. If it was an exclamation point, the would be capitalized. No capitalization, em dash. Imagine that, em dash, the Mary Celeste, an American ship. Okay. An American ship is set off with commas. For your bonus point this week, tell me how an American ship is acting as far as the function it performs in the sentence and why it's marked off, because that reason will tell us why it's marked off with commas. So imagine that, em dash, the Mary Celeste, comma, an American ship, comma, was found abandoned and afloat in the Atlantic in 1872, comma, we already have the quotation marks there, said Yuri, period. Okay, so let's take a look, see if what I said matches what I have written down. Imagine that the Mary Celeste, an American ship, was found abandoned and afloat in the Atlantic in 1872, said Yuri. Okay, moving right along to parts of speech, adverbs. What we're working on here is reviewing the double negative rule. I'll cover up the answers, and I will just tell you, double negatives are a bad thing, okay? If you have the word not or something that is limiting in a negative way, hardly, barely, scarcely, etc., you don't want to use a pronoun that has no in it or anything that would mean nothing. If you have not, no, or one of these adverbs like scarcely or hardly, the pronoun that you choose should be a positive, not a negative. That'll make more sense as we get going. Chan can't eat, would you say nothing or anything that contains nuts? All right, well, let's break up can't. Can't means cannot. And I just told you, you can't have a double negative. So you can't have not with no. So the correct answer would be Chan can't eat anything that contains nuts. The postal carrier hardly has any time or no time for chatting. Hardly is a negative term. We cannot have two negatives in a sentence, so hardly no would be incorrect. It must be hardly has any. Charity won't sleep anywhere or nowhere without a nightlight. Well, won't is a contraction for will not There's our negative, so we can't have another negative. Charity will not sleep anywhere without a nightlight. He doesn't want nobody's opinion or anybody's opinion. Doesn't is a contraction for does not. He does not want, it must be anybody's opinion. If you have a double negative, that makes it a positive. So if you said he doesn't want nobody's opinion, what that means is he wants everybody's opinion. And that's not what you're trying to say. All right, so double negatives, bad. Here are the answers. Anything, any, anywhere, anybody. Okay. Flipping my board back around, let's move on to the next section. Underline the subject once and the correct verb twice. Their employer asks or asks them to wear black attire. All right, employer is a singular noun. So their employer asks. Employer would be the subject, asks is the verb. Those two, I can't think of the word right now. It'll come to me. Those two words go together. All right. The group has decided or the group have decided. Group acts as a single unit. And so group agrees. That's the word I was trying to come up with before. Agrees. Group is a singular, so it would agree with the verb has. The group has decided. The woman with her daughters takes kickboxing. All right, well, we have the woman and then we have with her daughters. With her daughters is in a prepositional phrase, so cross it out. You're left with the subject as woman. Would you say woman takes or woman take? You would say the woman takes kickboxing lessons. Mr. Frost or his sons, would we say direct or directs? All right, well, the subject is Mr. Frost or sons. So Mr. Frost, sons are the subject. Sons is closest to the verb. So it needs to be that word that agrees with the verb. So it would be sons direct. Now in the next sentence, they flip it around and they say Mr. Frost's sons or he. He is the noun that's closest to the verb. You would say he directs. So that's the correct answer for that one. When the conjunction is or, you take the subject that's closest to the verb. If the conjunction is and, you treat it as a plural. I don't know if you really cared to know that, but now you do. Here are the answers then. Okay, you can double check and see if you were listening along with me, if those were the same answers you came up with, but those are the ones you want to have now. All right, last thing you have to do is combine 4 sentences into one sentence, which is a complete sentence punctuated correctly. No run-ons. End of the sentence punctuation would be a good thing to have. Capitalization, are you ready to check? U.S. Secretary of State John Milton Hay negotiated a trade policy referred to as the open door policy with China. Okay. A punctuation note. If you look where it has open door policy, even though that's not something that someone is saying, it's just something in quotes, it gets the comma before you continue on with the rest of the sentence. Okay, just a little aside punctuation note there. Okay, you guys are done with today. Good job. God bless you.